Hey guys, Wolvie here and welcome back to the channel. As always, the usual disclaimer. Any opinion here is mine and mine alone. Now, this particular topic just might be the only time I go into it. And believe it or not, it's Power Rangers. To be more specific, it is the 30th anniversary special, which is a Netflix exclusive. Bleh. I'm going to have a couple of links in the description below. And one of them I'm going to go into like what it is right away. The other I will go into later on in the video. The first link is going to be a YouTube video tied to Netflix, and it's the quote-unquote trailer. I'll get into the reasoning why I say that a little bit later in this video. But like I said, there is going to be another link, and once I get into the topic surrounding it, I will reveal that link. So bear with me. So regarding the 30th anniversary special, it's going to be quite a few things I'm going to go into, like regarding like what's going to go into this video. It's like who's in it, who's not in it, what we do know that around the special, as well as my hopes and concerns about it. So without any further delay, let's go. Now, this is what we know about the name of the special, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Once and Always. So, again, I have my notes here, so I will be referring to them from time to time, so that way I have the information I jotted down correctly. Like I said, it is a Netflix exclusive. The release date for this is going to be the 19th of April, which is the dead smack center of the week. On Wednesday, to be more exact. Now, so that's what we do know. It is a Netflix exclusive. It's coming the 19th of April, which is like at the middle of the week. Now, who's in it, who's not in it, and why? Now, the following individuals are in it. Let me grab this here. So this is the cast where it's like we know them from the mmpr side of the franchise. So we have the following returning. We have David Yost as Billy, Walter Emmanuel Jones as Zach, Steve Cardenas as Rocky, Catherine Sutherland as Kat. I do want to mention here that Steve and Catherine, they both are not in the original mmpr lineup. Just a bit of a heads up. What we also know here is Johnny Young Bosch. He comes back as Adam, but he's not a Ranger. Karen Ashley as Aisha. Like Adam, Aisha is no longer a Ranger because I'll get into that in a little bit. Not too far along in this video, but in a little bit. So those are the characters, right? Walter, David, Catherine, Karen, Johnny. That's we do know. And then we have the introduction of Charlie Kirsch. That her last name is spelled Kersh. She's gonna be playing a newer character too, like the whole thing, and the character's name is Mean. What we do know at this point is that Mean is Trini Kwan's daughter. So what we do know here is that Mean is going to be the newest mmpr Yellow Ranger. And there is an image on social media that's referring to the saber-toothed tiger, Griffin, that particular, like Zord, or Zords, I should say. So it's going to be referring to that, the Yellow Ranger, mmpr. Now, we do know another character is coming back, and that is Alpha 5, but as far as I know, I don't know who's doing the motion movements for it. I also don't know who's going to be doing the voicing behind it. So that we do know the character Alpha 5 is going to be in it. Now, there are 3 individuals who are not in it, and there's the reason's like they don't owe us anything for a reason. Now, the first person that refused to be a part of it was Austin St. John, but the reasoning behind it is not what you think it is. So what we do know is that he could not leave the country to be a part of the special, which a lot of people have been implying on social media along the lines of legal stuff, that he couldn't leave the U.S. And this also gives a hint that the filming was not done in the U.S. The second person who's not in it, and I don't blame her at all for this, and that is Amy Jo Johnson. Now, what we do know, like, the whole, like, whatever deal that was supposedly going on, Amy Jo Johnson mentioned on Twitter that she couldn't say yes to whatever deal that was there for her. So because she couldn't say yes, and that's kind of the closest wording from her on her Twitter account for the reason why she couldn't say yes, it's just like whatever deal was there, she couldn't say yes. And because of that, she's not part of the project. Now, the third person, and this is before his death in November, and that was Jason David Frank. Now, the last appearance of JDF inside the Power Rangers franchise, if memory serves me correctly on the matter, and that is Super Ninja Steel, where it's like, it was that team up morph where it's like the Ninja Steel Rangers, I'd be some mmpr, Turbo, and Space, varying seasons. It includes the Silver Ranger from RPM. So that much we do know. We know who's in it and who's not in it and why. Now for JDF, I want to mention here a little bit. Like I said, that was the last appearance that he was in regarding the Power Rangers franchise proper, was the Super Ninja Steel team up. And I also want to mention here that he was asked before he died. And from my understanding is that regarding some of JDF's reasoning is that he was focusing on a Bat in the Sun project known as Legend of the White Dragon. And speaking of that project, the Bat in the Sun project, Legend of the White Dragon, we're going to be hearing more about that at any day now, from my understanding, per some posts I've seen on Instagram. So I'm excited to hear more about that project. And believe it or not, this particular project, the Legend of the White Dragon, it was a Kickstarter project. It was a Kickstarter like funding, so to speak. And it had to go through 2 rounds because the first round was like it was just bad timing for a lot of people, and it couldn't get funded the first time. They went with Kickstarter again the second time. It is completely funded. And I believe they're putting the final touches on it, from my understanding, in the sense of like, it's already been filmed. There's the post-production's already done. I think they're just putting the final touches in the sense of like the dates, more details on that sort of thing. So that's, again, that's the whole thing with who's in it, who's not, as well as the dates and when, and it being a Netflix exclusive. Now, for those of you who saw the pictures of Johnny Young Bosch and Karen Ashley in certain uniforms, you notice like on the badge here, had their last name and said the word SPA. The font of it you might want to pay a bit close attention to if you have seen the photos. Now, the reason why I mentioned the badge is that SPA, Space Patrol Alpha, is most likely tied to Space Patrol Delta. And that is a specific season in the Power Rangers franchise. The reason why this is important is that if you look at SPD, that particular season, there is a character from that season by the name of Bridge. This is extremely important because it's a bit of like, connecting some of the pieces of the puzzle. And to be more, and the reason why Bridge is an important link to this, SPD, Space Patrol Delta, to SPA, Space Patrol Alpha, is you have to look at Operation Overdrive. That's another season right there. And in Operation Overdrive, we find out that Bridge is now the Red Ranger at that point, during the events of Operation Overdrive. He was picked alongside Adam and 3 other Rangers to help out in that particular team up, which is perhaps how I feel SPA, Space Patrol, was actually born, through that meeting between Adam and Bridge. Therefore, you have Space Patrol Alpha, where Adam and Aisha are working. You have Space Patrol Delta, where Bridge is a part of that season. Now, and another reason why I'm going to get into another reason with this whole link later on, and it's pertaining to the Mighty Morphin Green Ranger, which we do see, like, you know, snippets like here's like something like that. People are speculating on who that is. But like I said, I'll get to that in a little later. Now, regarding the whole thing with Netflix, there you might as well get your own Netflix account, because it's like there's a lot of like he said she said about account sharing. And the whole thing with account sharing is like you were supposed to have your own Netflix account to view whatever on Netflix. However, Netflix backpedaled because shit hit the fan on social media. People were not happy with the new policies. And again, this forced Netflix to backpedal whatever that decision. However, I will be honest here and say that I won't be surprised if they bring that back in secret in the future. But that's just me on that part. But I do feel one may have to get their own Netflix account to even view this. And I know they have like a price range that goes across the board, anywhere between $7 United States to about $20 United States per month. If memory serves me correctly on the matter. I'm going to check the time real quickly. Okay, so it looks like I'm making decent time here, believe it or not. So, that's much we do know. And then I want to mention something a bit about the quote-unquote trailer, is that it's not a proper trailer in my personal opinion. And to be more exact of how I feel that way is that I actually viewed the trailer, and it's just mostly interviews with the people who are in it. You know, you have David and Walter, Steve, Catherine, Johnny, and Karen. They're all mentioning, you know, certain things. The whole nostalgia factor. But, you know, that's just the whole thing, like, with that particular trailer. It's no real, like, footage of, like, okay, a scene, like, a snippet of the scene here, snippet of the scene there. But there is a photo I managed to have found on Twitter where it's, like, you have Billy, Zach, Rocky, and Kat all, like, you know, they're all, like, serious, all that stuff. And they were happy about this, and the location seems to be the Moon Palace. And I agree with that assessment, because there were like certain clues of like, they were circling one thing and they were able to connect to that, and yeah. I do feel that it's like part of it takes place at the Moon Palace. Which I feel is also tied to Rita Repulsa, Lord Zed, so on and so forth. Now, another thing here is that with the mmpr lineup for this particular special, there is a mixture, because David, Catherine, and Steve have worked together on MMPR, as well as Zio, the team that followed MMPR. However, Walter never worked with them. So this is going to be a first time where Walter has worked with Rocky and Catherine in the sense of like, you know, it's morphin' time, as well as Johnny and Catherine, even though Johnny and Catherine are part of Space Patrol Alpha. And as for whether or not the whole thing with SPD, I do feel that the founding course, where it's like the group first started is Space Patrol Alpha, then Space Patrol Delta, I feel is an improvement from that, or simply another location. And using the Greek alphabet, you know, saying Alpha, Beta, Delta, so on and so forth. So that's much on that as you know, a sense of like what we do know. Like I said, I'm gonna get into the whole thing with Tui Train, you know, later on in sense of the hopes and concerns, but not for the reason that people think. But that's that on that. So I'm gonna go into the last page I have over here. I'm gonna check the time. Hopefully, this is the last time I check the time right here, but it may not be the last. So I'm at about okay. So I got plenty of time, and I have to mention that now because the app I'm using to film this, it's got a bit of a time limit of 35 minutes before it gets cut off. I learned that the hard way a couple of times. So I'm going to go into my hopes and concerns, and I'm going to continue where I kind of left off with Tui Train. I want this, and this is going to be around the time I start revealing that second link. It is going to be another YouTube video, but it is a very important one. Now, Tui Train is not the original MMPR Yellow Ranger. And the reason for that is, and I'm going to reveal this right now, is that there's a pilot episode version of Day of the Dumpster. It is found on YouTube, and this was released and this particular pilot version was released to the public around the time, give or take, the Lost Galaxy season. Now, the reason why that is, there is a different version of Day of the Dumpster is because the original MMPR Yellow Ranger was portrayed by a female known as Audrey Dubois, who is a noted martial artist in her community. Now, I don't quite remember why she was replaced by Tui Train. That's none of my business. But I do know that in the pilot episode, which is a little bit more grown up if people were to really watch that. And again, I'll have a link to that in the description below. It's going to feature some commentary by Austin St. John and Walter Emmanuel Jones. So this is something that is worth noting. So Audrey Dubois portrayed the original Trini. Now, we do know that Trini in the pilot never had a surname. It was revealed to be Trini Kwan when Tui Train took over that role as Trini. So it's one of those things is where, and the reason why I mentioned Audrey Dubois is because there could have been a possibility for her to be asked if she wanted to take part of this. To keep it as quote-unquote as OG as possible, because David actually has worked with her alongside, David Yost has worked with her alongside Walter Jones, which would have been really interesting to see. But I do support the decision that Mean, the character, is the new MMPR Yellow Ranger instead of the pilot episode Trini. I do support that because it's like, it goes to show it's a real mix of lineups, you know. People from this lineup, people from that lineup, people from another, like someone brand new. It gives it a little bit of a fresher, you know, vibe. And it's good. I feel it's going to be really welcoming to see. Now, in addition to that, my biggest concern above everything else is the execution of the final product. Because you can have the whole, it's more of a time you see, like, you know, the whole quote-unquote animation behind that. But it's like, if it's not executed well, where people be like, yeah, woo-woo! It's not, the nostalgia is not going to matter. That's just how I feel. Regarding the Green Ranger identity, I am personally hoping it's J.J. Oliver. Now, I mentioned here a few times about SPA, SPD, that the SPD season and Bridge. Now, the reason why I bring up the fact that Bridge becomes the Red Ranger in the Operation Overdrive team up with that squad is because we now know that, and this comes from a particular novella, Soul of the Dragon, that J.J. Oliver becomes the Green Ranger in SPD around the time we hear about the Operation Overdrive team up. Because in the Operation Overdrive team up, Bridge mentions that he was originally the Green Ranger in that season. But he got promoted twice. Because at the end of the SPD season, Bridge went from green to blue. Because Sky, who was the Blue Ranger, became the Red. Then later on, we find out that in the Operation Overdrive team-up that Sky got promoted once again, which made Bridge the Red Ranger, which you have the blue and the green by quote-unquote freed up at that time, although J.J. Oliver became the Green Ranger at that time frame, which matches up the information in Soul of the Dragon. because you see, for those of you, and this is a bit of a spoiler here for Soul of the Dragon, which is an mmpr like novella featuring Tommy and Cat, is that JJ at the end of that novella, or towards the end of the novella, he not only has the SPD Green Ranger suit on, he also combined it with the dragon, like the armor from the dragon, like the Dragon Ranger outfit from the mmpr. I don't know if that made any sense, but it's like he had the SPD, like that costume, which was protected by that dragon's shield. And I am personally hoping it's JJ. Some people are mentioning it's a flashback. We simply don't know yet. I'm hoping it's JJ, because of the whole Soul of the Dragon novella providing a very, very vital clue. Because we know that, and again, to reiterate the Operation Overdrive team up, Bridge is actually the Red Ranger at that point. Which, if you decide, you like look at the events of that particular team up, to the information from the Soul of the Dragon novella, and amongst other things. Now, I do want to add here that both Steve and Catherine were also part of that Super Ninja Steel team up with JDF. With Steve doing MMPR Red, and then you have Catherine doing Turbo Pink. So, outside of that part, any other hopes and all that stuff? I'm looking at my notes here, so please do bear with me. I'm going to check the time real quickly. Okay, so I'm actually making good time. So the whole thing with social media and nostalgia, on a side note from what I said, is that nostalgia could work for the special. It could also work against it, because again, you have to look at it. The good thing about it, if it's just nostalgia, a lot of people will get it. But if it's not executed right, even some of the people who are like, remember MMPR as well as I do, be like, this ain't good. I mean, nostalgia may be there, but it's just like it's not done right. Now, social media was quite harsh on Amy Jo Johnson, and that, like I said earlier, Amy Jo Johnson doesn't owe anyone a damn reason. And the reason why she doesn't owe anyone a damn reason, because it turns out on social media, it was noted that she nearly died twice on set. And we have to remember, Amy Jo Johnson's last appearance in the Power Rangers franchise was the Turbo movie, alongside Austin St. John, in the sense of like their appearance in that movie. Even though Austin St. John came back a couple of times in the Power Rangers franchise, if memory serves me correctly. So, I did mention the nostalgia versus the execution of the final product. I also mentioned Aubrey Dubois. Now, I did mention the stance Netflix had on sharing account passwords. Now, like I said, they did dial that back, because a lot of the criticism came out, and as far as I know a lot of it was on Twitter. So, I'm also hoping that there's an actual trailer, like not interviews, but like an actual trailer before the whole special, so that way we get to see, okay, if it's going to be any good. I did mention SPD, JJ Oliver, all that stuff. Now, one of my biggest fears is that things get leaked out before the special shows up. Because if I'm hearing or reading or seeing any leaks, this may hurt the special. And I'm being very kindly about this. And when it comes to leaks, I don't know if I can trust the source if it gets leaked beforehand. So, in my final thoughts on this on the whole project itself, I'm going to check the time one last time. Okay, so I got about 10 minutes off. So, my final thoughts on this. I really do hope they pull this off. Because, as I said before, the nostalgia could be all there. Certain aspects of it could be really good. But if it's not executed in a way where it's like everybody's just like cheering, not wanting to stop watching, it's not going to make any sense. And regarding the Green Ranger identity, I am personally hoping it's J.J. Oliver, based on the Soul of the Dragon novella, the Operation Overdrive team up with Bridge from SPD, and you have Space Patrol Alpha being tied to SPD, in my personal opinion. So that's out of that, with Wolvie here signing off. I will catch you all on the flip side.